Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate you guys tuning in for this year's Communication Publications workshop. For those of you I haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Jacques deMoss. I'm the Deputy Executive Director with US Chess. Renee Bartlett, our Executive Director, is unable to attend tonight. She had a conflicting meeting, and she asked me to pass on her regrets for not being able to be here. But what we're doing tonight is we're looking at the year in review for the Publications Communications Department. I've assembled key members of the team to report on their various aspects of their involvement in the team, and then we will reserve some time at the end of the presentation for questions and answers. I would ask everybody keep their mics on mute just to stray any extraneous noise unless you have a question during the presentations. But with that being said, I will turn it over to our editor, Mr. John Hartmann.
Okay, let me get set up here. Oh, that's not what I want. Sorry, as this is the first time I've done a e-session like this for communications, so I'm just trying to get set up. I've requested to share my screen, so hopefully I can share. Perfect. And I'm going to share. Bingo. Okay. I'm assuming everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Look good? No bar, everything's great?
Looks
Looks
great.
great.
I think you're ready to go.
All right. Well, in that case, basically, I just want to walk through what we've done this year in print publications, sort of what our mission is, what our subscription numbers look like, talk about the delegate motion from 2024 that we were required to respond to, and that's in the delegates. That's on the delegates page. You can check that out, but I have the text here as well. We'll talk about what we're doing generally as a strategy for Chess Life, for Chess Life Kids, and where we're looking to take things. So, all right, there we go. So I guess the first question is, what are our print products? Everybody's probably pretty familiar with Chess Life. I think this was my favorite cover from this year. See if I can move this. Got a bar over things here. There we go. Move this over here. This was my favorite cover for this year. This is some artwork that we put together. Natasha Roberts helped put this request together for the artist. And this is a winter scene in New York City for the Rapid and Blitz Championship. This was really actually well received. We had another 500 copies. We took them to New York and handed them out. And the head of security for Cipriani for the playing site was so taken by it. He had a paper copy, and he asked us to send them a digital version of this too, so he could get a high-res version, print it out, put it in his office. So I took that to be a pretty good sign. So Chess Life obviously is our flagship, but of course, we also have Chess Life Kids. This was our June cover. I really like this. The artwork is really neat. Again, Natasha did a great job coordinating with the artist on this. I like it because it really reflected the article that I wrote for the cover story about tactics and whether to use online trainers or books and why you might want to consider using both. We have a number of public-facing documents that we do, like the delegates call, the yearbook, and the annual report. You see the cover of the annual report here. But we also do a lot of things that you may not see that are sort of behind the scenes. So things like the media kit, which we send out to potential advertisers to let them know what our advertising rates are and try to convince them that advertising in our print publications is a worthwhile endeavor. We have a guide for authors that my assistant editor, Rick Massimo, and I have put together that we send out to new authors. And things like the invitational program, which that's sort of a special use document that we update from year to year to hand out at the invitationals that'll be coming up in just under 2 weeks. Subscription numbers. I wanted to take a look at this because I think there's a story here to be told. This is roughly what the subscription numbers for Chess Life and Chess Life Kids look like. I took out some of the smaller subscription numbers, things like first class mailings or the number of magazines we print to have on hand in the office to mail out. This is basically just what we do for the general mailing of each magazine that we do. You can see that the numbers have been relatively stable. We do have seasonal ups and downs, but I did want to mention this particular dip right here. There was a print subscriber drop in the fall of around 2,500 to 3,000 members. And what happened here was essentially that membership discovered that a lot of senior members and also some family memberships were getting the print magazine without paying for it. So when they figured that out, we put notice in the magazine, and we stopped mailing the magazine to those people who thought that they were still getting it. We got some emails saying, "Hey, where's my magazine?" And then we pointed out, "Hey, you were getting it for free." Some people renewed, some people didn't. That's the way the world works. Anyway, with this exception in mind, I think if you look at the statistics, they've been relatively stable. And this is really, we haven't really advertised the magazine in the way that I think we need to. So I think, seasonal ups and downs are pretty normal. The subscription numbers seem pretty stable. If we're able to start doing some advertising for it and making the case to our members as to why they should do the print add-on, I think we'll probably boost those numbers pretty easily. In response to the delegate motion 2441 last year, we were told to analyze our print and mailing costs. I do want to note in what follows, this is just for the print. This is just what the print add-on fee covers. So this is for printing and mailing only. That fee was never designed to cover editorial fees. That's a separate line in the budget. So what we discovered was basically that Chess Life currently, when we take all of the revenue streams and all of the costs associated with printing and mailing into account, Chess Life is just under the $1 per issue mark. Chess Life Kids is well under the $1 per issue standard. And what we also discovered is that likely in fiscal year 25-26, Chess Life may exceed that $1 per issue fee that we're charging members. So we're investigating various ways to deal with this. An advertising push would really fix this problem without much difficulty. But all cards are on the table as always, and I'm sure that the board and Renee and Jacques will keep everybody up to date as to however we decide to proceed with this. Chess Life 2024-25, my focus really was on young authors. So we had Brewington Hardaway, Awunderli Young, Robert Shelichenko, Andy Woodward, Carissa Yip, and Davis Song on our pages. So, Tanya Adewumi sent us annotations. We had just about all of the top juniors writing for us in some way, shape, or form. We also prioritized female representation, so a lot of female authors when we could do it. We made sure to focus on covering women's events like the Women's World Championship. If you take a look at the July issue, we've got a nice piece by Sabina Feuser on the Women's World Championship. We also had games from the women's from the Rapid and Blitz and from the Olympiad. So we're really making sure that we're having good representation for young women to see themselves in the magazine. I'm also really focused on bringing new voices to our readers. So I'm trying to find authors who may be on the way up, who you may not have heard of yet, while also trying to focus on appealing topics to our readers. I know our readers tend to enjoy history. They tend to enjoy stories about the past. Things like military chess, you see that on this cover. We also usually get a good response to that. So we're making sure we're covering all our bases, doing the standards, playing the classics, but also trying to get some new blood and some new concepts into the magazine. Looking ahead for fiscal year 2025-2026, this is the cover for July. This is a really great piece we had done by Jack Smith on Scholastic Chess in New York. If you haven't read it, I very strongly suggest you do. Cover stories coming up will probably be on the American Cup in August. We're wrapping that issue right now. Super Nationals in September. After that, Carissa is writing about her win at the Cairns Cup, which we're really excited to have. We're doing a feature on Brewington Hardaway and his historic climb to Grandmaster. Maurice Ashley is writing that article for us. And of course, we'll be covering all the national championships, the cadet, the invitationals, the junior and the senior, and the U.S. Championship as we move through the year. One last thing we're going to focus on or try to spend a little more time with is calling attention to the story of U.S. chess as a 501c3 nonprofit, highlighting our various initiatives and programs, and trying to tell the story that U.S. chess is more than just rated games at this point. We're doing a lot to grow chess, and you may not know it yet, but we're gonna push it down your throat. We're gonna tell you that story, and you're gonna like it. Last but not least, I do want to talk about Chess Life Kids. This I think was my favorite cover from Chess Life Kids. Well, no, my favorite cover was the one for the story I wrote, but I really like this cover. We had an interview with a author who wrote a YA book about chess, and this was the cover that we got. It was actually the same person who did the cover for the book, which is kind of a nice little twist there. Chess Life Kids has a much smaller budget than Chess Life, but I really think we can do better with it, especially considering that we're serving 10,000 youth members with this publication. I think we have some really great columns. Jeff Coakley's column is unique in the chess world. Tim McGrew does a nice job talking about attacking chess and finding games from Lee Chess that really that teach something but you haven't seen before. But I think we need to do more. So I'd like to start having some contests and kind of like a Your Move or You Respond page at the end of the issue to try to garner some responses and some feedback. And I also want to spend some time looking for young authors that readers will identify with. I think that's pretty important. It goes along with our youth movement in Chess Life, and I think we can grow the magazine here as well. With that, I think I am done. I'm pretty sure that's my last slide, so I'm going to stop sharing if I can figure out how to do that.
Okay, and as you do that, I'm going to request to share, Bryan.
Yeah, I can't seem to do it. Bryan, can you stop share? There we
Did
go.
that just work? Okay, gorgeous.
Great.
Okay. And now if I press this button, can everyone see what looks like a slideshow?
Yep, looks great.
Amazing. Okay, so picking up, now we're moving from Chess Life to Chess Life Online, which is what we've been calling our online publications. It's not simply the Chess Life magazine online. It's a lot of reporting. Most of the people here are probably familiar with the website and the news on the website. Some of you, I'm very certain, are. Hi, Alexi, favorite author. Definitely a most frequent author, too. So what I like to do in my capacity as digital editor is to keep a lot of current news on the front page, covering all corners of U.S. chess in the news, American chess players, chess in America, and American players abroad. By my count, in the last 12 months, July to July, I counted 124 articles that were on recaps of tournaments, rounds of tournaments, or features on players. These are articles that have annotated games in them, articles that are newsworthy, articles that are about a specific tournament. Our focus is really determined by our mission. We prioritize the coverage of top US players as they reach milestones, our American players as they compete internationally in youth events, women's events, both national and international, senior events, national and international, and focusing on the work that our affiliates are doing and that TDs are doing, both on the local and regional level, as well as national events. This was one of my favorite. The next few slides are just examples of some of the articles we've had on the website. And what I like going through is just going through the spread in order. And when I see something like this, where we have news about the K-12 grades going on in December, as well as Caruana playing an open tournament, playing 2 games a day for the first time in a decade in Charlotte. And then you have Kasparov right there at the KCF All-Girls, right at the same time as Tani playing a norm tournament becomes eligible for the IM title. Those were just consecutive stories all in the same weekend. And I feel like that's one of my favorite spreads for just capturing the kind of reporting we're doing of scholastic events, newsworthy events, top players, but it's not just all Caruana all the time, and it's not just our national events. Another one, you have the Senior Women's Championship, right as we have Mark Hyman earning his final GM norms in the middle of the World Championship. So when it comes to top player milestones, thinking about, I'm not going to walk through every single article that's on the slide, but I promise they're all online. And I think I can set it up so when we have the slideshow online, I can link to the articles too. But I really like featuring players who have a connection to history, like Stuart Rachel's coming back into chess. Players who are going to have a connection to history, like Ruben Quinton's becoming the youngest 2,000 plus player ever, taking over from Mishra, who took over from a Wonder Liang, so he's in good company. But we'll also get pitches or reach out to people who are doing interesting things, like a tournament director who organized a chess wrestling festival that had both a chess and wrestling component and matches that tried chess boxing style to incorporate both into a singular match, and why this was so exciting to her. And being able to share things like this and having the digital space to not have to worry about, but does it fit in the magazine or this month, to be able to say, yeah, you're doing something, you're doing it through US Chess, share it with us, is just always exciting. Part of the joy of daily reporting is being able to cover events in real time, including senior events, Women's Olympiad, and often hear from the players. Alexi Root, who's in the room, was reporting for us from the FIDE World Senior Team Championships. We'll get reports from players, from Carissa in the past, from Begum, from national events, and to be able to add their perspective as well to everything else going on in real time, or next day at the very least, I think is really great and a really nice counterbalance to the print cycle. Before I had this job, I did not know how many international youth events there were. There's always an international youth championship, and there's always some really cute American kids doing very well. And these are some of the events that, unlike, say, some of the top American youth that are becoming household names like Atani or Brewington, these are players who this might be their first time getting any sort of national coverage. Being able to cover that is something that I take really seriously and think is really mission aligned. And speaking of mission aligned, being able to focus on features that look at programs like FemChess, who's been a recipient of several US Chess Women's grants, focusing on some professional as well as some amateur players that traveled to Dominican Republic for the last Women's Continental, and more generally looking at overlap, like when Devon and John Rockefeller were able to bring Brewington to a national squash tournament and set up chess tables there and hang out all weekend, and so many of the kids were just obsessed with the chessboard, and talking about that overlap. These are all stories that in a pretty much limitless space, I love being able to share. And that's in addition to some of the chessier stuff that we do, which are puzzles that are meant to be really instructional as an extension of Chess Life Kids on Tuesdays, and then much more challenging, sometimes cruel features of regular games. I'll sometimes get replies from the players who are featured saying, I can't believe I missed that. Alex Lunderman emailing me to tell me that I found something he missed in one of his own games was a career highlight. But the goal isn't, just to outsmart people. The goal is to be able to say, look, in addition to the news, here's tournaments that were played last week with American players playing under US Chess umbrella. And here are the nitty-gritty of what their games look like. Along with monthly features focusing on correspondence chess, Tim Just column always gets a lot of discussion. And the Inside Story gives us an opportunity to reprint Chess Life articles for people who aren't members to see worldwide. And sometimes we'll have the opportunity where John says, Carissa gave me 10 times as many words as I needed. And I say, okay, I'll take them. And not only are we able to reprint the story, but we're able to do some editing. But, if she gave us 8 games and John could only print 3 of them, I'll take the other 5. And to be able to share and add to that and not just be a receptacle, but to add to that is something really exciting. So between these daily round recaps and tournament reports, these feature stories, and our weekly and monthly features, we are averaging pretty much an analysis-rich, educational, US player-focused piece of news every weekday. And then this is in addition to any sorts of announcements for grants and fellowships or administrative procedural office closing things. That's all on top of this. So that is my main role as digital editor, is trying to make sure that we can and continue to do this on a daily basis. Going forward, I want to really give more coverage to a major American Opens and Norm Invitationals. It's been Memorial Day, you'll always have Chicago Open. Independence Day, you'll always have World Open. Labor Day, you'll always have, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. And Thanksgiving, you'll always have US Masters. But these are some tournaments where they're going to garner some of the largest turnouts of American players, but we don't always have our own reporters there covering things, or even if they do, it would be primarily for print. So trying to make sure that those tournaments, but also the smaller tournaments going on in other parts of the country those weekends, those are popular times, not just for the big major CCA events. Making sure that those directors get recognized, that those players get recognized, and that we're able to really show what US chess is about, especially on these really popular holiday weekends. Working with Devon Croxton, who's the director of programs, more to make sure that all of the work that he's doing with programs and the partnerships he's building and the organizers he's working with that are really missions aligned, making sure that those stories are coming into our online features, doing more work for that. I spent most of today going through all of the pictures and testimonials Devon collected as part of grant recipients from last year's US Chess Women's Grant. And there's some amazing stories and photos in there as well. So going through that and turning this into a feature, really saying, hey, look at what all of these people were able to do. Look at how inventive some of these ideas were, and look at the impact it had. Oh, and by the way, the next application for the next cycle of these grants is going live the same day we publish that piece. So those are the kinds of things I think we really should be doing. And I'm excited that we're getting into this workflow where that's happening. I would love to also be publicizing ways that people in the chess community can pitch more. Whenever I hear from a tournament director or organizer, why didn't you cover my tournament? I would love to say, I'm sorry, I don't know. But the sad truth is, because I can't keep track of everything that's happening, especially if the results aren't online, especially if you didn't have DGT boards, especially if you're not posting photos. I would love for you to not have to come to me, and I want to make it easier for that to become a seamless process, but I also want to at least make sure that I'm making it as easy as possible for everyone who has a story to tell, newsworthy or more general, timely, I should say, or more general, to be able to know how to come to me and how we can work on getting that shared with the chess community. That's what I really see being in the works for Chess Life Online. Then the rest of the website, I am not the person who builds websites. I am not the person who fixes websites, but if I have the permissions to add and update content to the website, I will do it. One of the biggest projects that we've been working on this year, with more website stuff in the works, has been to create these kinds of home pages that will have different drop-down menus and different pages that will take all of the content from the legacy pages for, say, US Open or for National Scholastic Championships, but turn that into something that's much more user-friendly and easy to reference. This has been well received, and it's also just, I think, been really successful as a way for getting news out there in a more organized way and making sure all of the announcements and updates go to the people who need to hear them. Some stats here. For the hub page, all of the hub pages together, mostly in the months of May, 44,000 views for a tournament that had about, that's almost 10 times the number of participants. Almost half from the landing page, but look at this, over 10,000 people checking out the daily schedules of what to do. Or 10,000 views, I should say, not individual people looking at all the things to do. Just the fact that there's a single page they could go to, versus it being a sometimes updated PDF that was linked in the middle of one page on the old website. And you click on that, and now you discover there's going to be a free lecture starting in a half hour. And that was actually easy for you to access. That's something that I think that I'm really happy that we are doing, and I think it's going to help a lot with our events going forward. And these numbers made me happy. And for our hub page for the US Open, already things are awesome. The tournament hasn't even started. It's not even 2 weeks out. We have 24,000 views. We have a bunch of different schedule views. We have people looking at the pre-entry list. We have information about the side events. And just the fact that this information is getting out there in a way that's organized and also in a way where we can keep track of. For instance, I imagine people will check the announcements more once the tournament starts, but maybe I wouldn't have predicted this many people looking at pre-entries compared to other things, and that could inform how we look at this, and having separate pages for all of this allows this analytics sort of approach to be possible. More generally, when we get hundreds of thousands of views throughout the year on news articles in particular, and you can see these spikes here. I think you can kind of predict where some of them are. This is around the K-12 grades, and this is around Super Nationals. This, unfortunately, was during the US Championship, which made news for other reasons, but it was there. But being able to see that this is something where it doesn't just kind of ebb and flow throughout the year, there are real flashpoints, and being able to identify when those are and make sure that we have content and initiatives and asks going around those points where we're getting more traffic is something that we're making a priority. And also taking some of the elements such as photo galleries from players at Super Nationals and spreading them throughout the year so we can see some of this concentration go a little bit more out that way to keep more eyes on the website is also something we are hoping to do. The flash reports, even, these are just pretty much saying what the results are with a few photos, and we're getting thousands of views of those, mostly day of. And that's just an example of something where I think that if we're thinking about advertisement, if we're thinking about asks or engagement, these are opportunities to think about when we're making these reports, what else is on our website that we want to be directing people to. And moving on to social media, now we're kind of getting into an area where Bryan and I overlap a bit, which also means I'm almost done. I would say that the majority of our top posts are interactive, such as giveaways, like a signboard giveaway that was such a success, newsworthy, which are news shows. And then for Facebook and Instagram, especially Facebook, focused on kids milestones, and focused on chess as a community thing. Posts with lots of people in them, posts with kids doing awesome things, posts with parents supporting kids. Those kinds of stories get a lot of uptake on Facebook and Instagram in particular. In contrast, I would say on Twitter, which has become a harder place to get statistics from, more hardcore news. This event is happening, this happened, and this result gets a lot more uptake on Twitter, and people are going to Instagram and Facebook for something that's more story focused. So with that, our focus with Instagram, especially with all of the traffic we're getting around Super Nationals, is more interactive posts like giveaways and more human interest features. Facebook, similarly, scholastic content and milestones, the features and programs-oriented content goes here, and we want to be able to add more posts and content year-round, taking those highlight moments like Super Nationals and making sure those stay on our feed to keep people on our feed. On Twitter, this was about as much as I could get out of top stats. A lot of our posts that get the most views will range from things that go viral, like when I let Carissa Yip tweet from our account during the World Rapid and Blitz, but also newsworthy items like top players crossing the milestone to master, first African-American woman to do so. And down here, we see some of the more newsworthy items, like within the tournament reporting. Twitter has become a great place to be able to make multiple posts a day without spamming a feed, because the people there want to be updated in real time. And this is just a screenshot, but you can see this was from when John and I were at the World Rapid and Blitz, and were able to get a front row seat to Carissa and Alice's thumb war during the wait before the round started. And being able to be that close and personal and sharing that with the audience, I think really is the kind of thing that makes us feel like we're really a part of the chess world, and that we're also humans, and that we see even our players as humans and are able to share that. And that's the kind of content that I love being able to share. On YouTube, we have found that predictions, more than anything else, a prediction, who's going to win the world championship, those are going to be things that people always come to. Special guests, getting Alice Lee interviewed, people come to watch that. Otherwise, it's 2-year-old content from John on how to use Lichess or Leela that is still getting lots of clicks because it's been out there for a long time and it's just really fantastic. But I think going forward, we're focusing on leaning more into the predictive things, bringing in special guests, and then also integrating shorter clips from our videos into social media strategy. Like everything else, you can see the same pattern of there's some newsworthy events, and really it's around scholastics. So I was really just struck by how this wasn't just on Facebook, this wasn't just on the website. People are coming to us around the national events more than other times, and any growth strategy we have needs to be mindful of that. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something we have to realize is happening and think about how we can use to our advantage. So in sum, daily reporting, website updates, trying to make the website easier for everyone to use, and focusing on player accomplishments, scholastics, and more interactive content going forward on social media. And I believe that is everything from me.
All right. And let me get
Thank you,
set up.
JJ. Great report. Appreciate you.
I'll try not to have too much overlap with JJ. Let's see. Where is the play? There we go. So the main focus I have is definitely supporting of the mission and Chess Life Online. And JJ already hit on quite a number of points, so I'm going to try to hit more specifically on some of the things that YouTube, podcast, Twitch, and generally social media, but mostly a focus on Instagram. So in the past year, we've had 140 videos on YouTube and 115 Instagram posts and stories. And there are many points of interest with our YouTube videos that it's been organized in the past year. So now if you're checking playlist on our YouTube channel, you'll find anything and everything under governance. Like this video itself will be edited and placed in that governance playlist along with delegates meetings and things of interest to most of the people who are here tonight. We've been highlighting members and their stories, top players, and I definitely have been enjoying doing some how-to videos like affiliate resources, correspondence chess, how to become a tournament director, need to know rules for tournament play. We did a number of videos to assist trying to create practical, quick content in order to solve problems that national tournament directors are facing, and as well as when we're at national events. So a lot of the content that I created that's 3 to 5 minutes on the channel is trying to answer a question that, say, someone would Google and it's going to pop right up for them. Very proud of getting the podcast going again with Sabina Foizor doing class in session, focusing on promoting women's chess. One move at a time. I'm happy to follow in my predecessor Dan's footsteps there, and Dan was in fact a guest on the One Move at a Time podcast. Then Beyond the Board with our Director of Programs, Devon Croxton. We've had 15 guests in total over the past year, some of which being Alice Lee, Jake Bonin, Dwayne Barber, and Susan Polgar. And these podcasts are produced both on Podbean, just for audio in the traditional format, and we've added a game analysis or a presentation of a game. So YouTube is going to present differently from the just audio podcast on Podbean. So adding interactive content and having a lesson with each podcast interview. Next up, streaming. And much like JJ said, you can see our big bumps with streaming. when it comes to when we're having national events. And we've gotten 184 hours logged in the past year. And we're typically averaging about 20. And we made some significant changes from December nationals to super nationals. In the past, historically, with the streams, the streamers had been in person and they were normally starting at round 5. And being a coach for a long time, you develop a routine, you develop a schedule when you're at nationals. I felt that we needed to make a change and have it from the get-go. We, with assistance of Art, had QR codes all over the place at Super Nationals, and you can see this gigantic spike where we had record numbers, and we're definitely doing more build-up streams beforehand. So very, very pleased with the growth, and we're going to continue to stream from round 1. Our next event is going to be the US Open, where we'll be covering the invitationals, and from the invitationals, the merging of schedules for the 125th US Open. In social media with support, we're seeing things like the signboard giveaway. This is drawing far, far more traffic to what we're doing, as well as in Instagram and Facebook, we're highlighting more of the schedule features at national events, like our simul's, all-comers blitz, and generally lectures. These haven't been traditionally well attended in the past because there's just so much going on in a weekend. So having another avenue to communicate with our guests at events is getting more awareness for the important side events that are going on. And Women's and Girls Club. And I've had enough time now over the past year to experiment with posts that are getting traction, and go figure, chess players are rating obsessed. Some of our best performing posts are those featuring our members, and we're working on new formats with presenting that and supporting our programs, doing more work to let people know about things like the Herbert B. Jacqueline program, which the deadline is August 1st coming up. And that is going to do it for me. So I'm going to hand it over to
Thank you,
Natasha.
Bryan. We'll hand it over to Natasha Roberts, our art director.
Hello. I have to remember where the buttons are. Okay, so my name is Natasha Roberts. I'm the current art director. Does everything look okay on the screen? I'm assuming you could see it. Okay, so I'm going to talk about our current art-related initiatives, which ties into just about, well, literally everything that they've talked about so far today. And so if I can figure out how to make PowerPoint do what I want. Okay, so a big focus this year was events. We are always building branding for our events, but we went even bigger this year, and we've been starting the process of making it more consistent. Our focus for this last year for our events and specifically were to create the user-friendly event hubs on the website that JJ briefly mentioned. To be more creating more cohesive branding for Super Nationals, which included more print materials like signage and such than we've typically done in the past, and additional assets for social media. We increased visibility through partnerships, particularly through sponsorships for for the national tournaments. We've had a pretty big move to get sponsors and create those partnerships with different organizations and individuals. And we continue to just standardize all elements, starting with the photography for our events specifically. So for Super Nationals branding, we created a coordinated suite of promotional materials that included many, many things. It included the event hub, which was the Super Nationals was the first event that we went live with the event hub. The US Open is the second, which is live now and up there, and we are continuing to make improvements to that as we go along. We did event banner signage, streaming series, so a lot of social media and digital promotional assets, magazine stuff for the magazines, sponsorship packet, and a post-event highlight video using video footage that we had gotten on site during Super Nationals 8. So this is the Super National homepage for the hub. It was, again, the first one that we did, and the US Open has a few new pieces to it, particularly because we have it's a unique event with the invitationals and such. And these are the examples of some of the branding items that we had created. We had banners, both digital and in print, throughout the playing site for Super Nationals. There was some really nice signage that events had put together too that was branded with the Super Nationals branding, and it just made the event as a whole feel very professional, very cohesive. It's an impressive event, and it should be represented as such. And so we did a lot of new items in that realm to help get information out, but also to push some of those partnerships that were able to create for Super Nationals specifically. So I snickered a little bit because we have the same image. So we created all sorts of digital assets. Some of these were motion graphics. They actually moved on social media to hopefully grab more attention, and we're playing with increasing the amount of the frequency that our graphics, particularly for events and such promotion of events, would be animated. And we had some really extensive countdown sort of marketing that we did. Bryan and Sabina did some streams prior to the event even happening to build some awareness of it. And so we built a whole branding for that. And so there was a lot of work in the marketing that we hope to utilize moving forward too for our other events to raise awareness and visibility of all of our national events. Again, the magazines. So you've seen a few magazine covers. I chose to highlight some of the magazine coverage for Super Nationals because historically what we've done for our national events is a post magazine coverage. There's typically a couple of ads, maybe a small article before the tournament, kind of advertising what's going to happen. For Super Nationals this year, we actually went a little bit further. We had multiple pages in each of the magazine where we even published the preliminary schedule that we had before Super Nationals happened in the magazine. So other branding, again, I had mentioned the partnerships we built around K-12s. The grades last December was the first tournament that we had really started exploring partnership opportunities. But then we continued that with Super Nationals and are again continuing it with the US Open. And so we created a brand new document. It's, I believe, 8 pages long that highlights the success of our national events, how long we've been doing it, and the value of partnering with us in that format. We have had obviously stream coverage before, but we had a videographer on site this time for Super Nationals and created a post event highlight video. And I think it was really well received. I'm hoping that we can implement this into some of our future events as well. It would be very beneficial to have some of this footage for other purposes too, when we're doing information sessions about what US Chess does and how we build the community, the chess community in with our programs, such as the scholastic programs, the girls club. There was some really fantastic footage in there from the girls club that we can use for the women's program, for highlighting the great work that we're doing there. So the event hub is a big deal. It was a lot of work. JJ and did really put in muscles this time, and and I'm really happy with it. We are currently working on an overall website overhaul where we're hoping to model some of this, some of the structure changes that are here. The primary thing that you'll notice is that the menu changes. This main menu format changes when you're in this event hub. And we're hoping to push that throughout the rest of the website, because we recognize that we have a wide variety of users and they have a wide variety of tasks or objectives for what they want to do when they come to the website. And so the hope is to find a way that it's much more user-friendly and it's more intuitive on how to get to where you're needing to go, and eliminate some of the steps that we currently have in doing different tasks. So this was a sort of a problem-solving sort of situation. We were asked to find a new way to update the event hub and to present that information within the current structure of the website. And so this is a sort of medium solution. We are expecting, as we build continue along with the website overhaul, the entirety of the website being reworked, that this again will look different, but it's kind of hoping to, it's a sort of bridge to help us sooner rather than later in getting this information out. And so these are a few of the pages from the US Open specifically. You can get more information than we could previously. We have been able to put more out there, like information about the local area, because we're able to break it up into smaller pieces so it's more digestible. We also are able to find creative solutions for different problems, like the multi-schedule that we have at the US Open. I am not a chess player, so the terminology is probably way off for this. But you get what I'm saying, is that that there are a lot of areas where the information we're trying to present on our website isn't effectively being presented in a way that's clear and concise and user-friendly. And so we are able to solve a lot of problems within the limitations of what we have right now on our website. And so we're hoping to continue to push this. Aside from events there, which this also ties into events, but there were quite a few. We have so many guides out there. We have and we have lots of arms too. And so the reason I bring this up is because we have a lot of different people who are trying to help further the community of chess, of US chess, and with the committees, the delegates, and all of these things. And I want to continue to build toolkits to help each of these individuals and groups to to provide them with access to more clear guidelines on so that our brand is more consistent across the board. And so if you're doing something for a local tournament, then you can, hopefully find some helpful things. Or if you are a committee member and you are wanting to host a workshop, then, there's just all of these different things that maybe we could help provide some assistance with. So the first thing we did for our events was the photography guide. I created a photography guide to help consistently get the work product that we wanted for our national event coverage so that we could have these beautiful photos every time. And so we created this new document that showed that it also helps non-chess people understand how to photograph a chess tournament, because that's the other thing, is that we don't always have chess people doing the work to help us along the way. And so we created this photography guide to help continue the brand. And likewise, I expanded the brand guideline. So we have had a brand guideline that mostly covered the treatment of our logo, but this year I created a much more extensive brand guide that outlines other elements of our brand identity, such as specific colors and fonts that we would use to help communicate with, again, all of these, even just internally, different departments internally, but also other, public facing individuals. There in the future, I'm hoping to continue to expand and systemize event coverage, and we're going to have additional website work done. I anticipate creating similar hub structures for other departments and for programs that we have, such as the Girls Club program or the Correspondence Chess program, our Safe Play program. And so we're going to continue building out those hubs on the website. I'd like to, like I said, continue to develop additional brand toolkits for delegates, committees, and other internal and external groups of people. We do have affiliate related logos and such that we share through our website that I'm not sure if people are aware are there, but building on those things constantly. And those wonderful guides, we have different delegates materials that go out every year. And we have an example that comes to mind is the new 2 National Tournament Guide, updating those and bringing them closer to the core brand of US Chess, and making sure that everything that goes out looks like it's US Chess. What we're continuing. So I want to make it very clear that as a team, we work really hard together, and none of these projects would have looked anywhere near as good if all of us weren't here putting our it's teamwork makes dream work. And so as an artist, I have to really rely on my editors, and I'm assuming that my editors also rely on me. And so I really appreciate all of the help I get from my team too.